Oh, we got a good one today. Principal Daryn is going to tell substitute teachers what they need to do to be successful. Come on, kids.
Substitute Teachers Lounge.
All right, I don't want to say much before we get on to the interview. You're going to like it. Let me just remind everybody we have a Substitute Teachers Lounge Facebook page. My Twitter handle is at SubTeachLounge. We also have a YouTube channel now, also called Substitute Teachers Lounge. You can watch us in video form. That is really going well, so I'm glad to have that opportunity too. One final thing I want to mention. I know a lot of you are at home now, and I want to encourage you. Please, if you like the podcast, and especially if you're listening on a PC, but it's easy from any version, please go out there and give us a rating and especially a written review. If you like us, that helps us to grow. So give us a 5-star rating, a review. I would love to hear that. You can also email me at gregcollinssubstitute@gmail.com. I should have mentioned about the review for the Apple podcast. Even if you're on your phone, you can go to your library of podcasts, just click on our symbol, and then down at the bottom, you can rate and review. And from what I've heard, it's even easier on a PC. Our Buzzsprout guys reminded us of that, to mention that, since maybe some of you are listening to it now more on a PC than in your car like you normally would. But that's all for now. Let's get on to the interview. All right, guys, I want to welcome you again to Substitute Teachers Lounge for this week. Now, we have interviewed teachers and substitute teachers and students before, but this is my first interview with an administrator. We're going to talk to a principal. Daryn, how are you doing today?
Very well, Greg. Thank you for having me on today. I appreciate that.
I know your daughter, Sarah, is in the room right now. Sarah, stick your head in there so everybody can see you.
Hello.
Let's talk to you first. How's that?
Okay.
Now, you told me, but tell everybody what grade you're in.
I'm in 6th grade.
Okay. All right. That sounds great. Now, what's your favorite subject?
I would have to say reading because I need to get better in reading.
Gotcha.
So, yes.
So while we've all been quarantined, have you had work to do, I assume, every week and usually every day of every week?
Yes.
Yes.
I have about maybe 5 assignments maybe a day.
Okay. All right. Well, let me ask you this. You've had substitute teachers, haven't you?
Yes.
The only time I have substitute taught at your school was for 5th grade, and I just did it one day. Usually I'm in the county schools. But don't mention any names, but think of the ones that were your favorite substitute teachers, and then tell me what you liked about them.
I liked one that was in the last year I was in 5th grade, and she kind of just, I would say, kind of helped everybody if they needed something, or if you were having something that you just couldn't figure out. So, yeah.
Okay, good.
And so here there was one in I'd say, I think it was just that one teacher that was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you one general knowledge, or not general knowledge, but a trivia question before we get out of here. Not really trivia. Just tell me what your favorite movie is.
Oh, crap. All the Disney movies.
All the Disney movies. Do you have Disney Plus at home?
Yes.
Okay. Me too. That's how I caught up on all the Marvel movies when we first got it. So it took me 28 of them, but I got there. Well, it was good talking to you, Sarah. You have a good day, okay?
Okay.
All right. See you later.
All right.
All right, Daryn, just tell us. I like to start with everybody's journey. I know you're a principal now, but tell us a little bit about your education. And I know you were a coach. So tell us a little bit about everything that finally got you into being a principal. Feel free to embellish.
Well, I come from the school of hard knocks, so to speak, and I've kind of lived my life by making mistakes and recovering from those mistakes and hopefully learning from them and moving on. And but at an early age, my grandmother, she was a retired school teacher. I don't recall her teaching in my life, but she taught school, and my grandfather, they were really big about getting an education and doing something, with your education. And so my grandmother graduated from EKU, which was Eastern Teachers College, I believe was the name of it, back in the late 1930s. And she had actually at that time began teaching prior to having her degree. You could actually teach in the classroom and not have the degree to do that, and she was working toward that degree. But so I can remember their influences early on about getting an education, and the way that they would talk to me and my brothers and my cousins about school and the importance of school. And they often said that you don't go to college, that anybody can go to college, that you go to get a degree. And so having the correct mindset about education was instilled early on. Both of my parents are educators as well. And my mother was a middle grades social studies teacher, and my father was a comeback from industry teacher. He worked in Cincinnati in a factory for a few years, and then wound up coming back to EKU in the 1960s and got his degree in industrial arts. And so I grew up around machinery that my dad would operate. My parents ran a little workshop out of our basement, the garage in our home, where they made crafts and held classes where people would come in, and Dad would create things in the workshop, and I would help by sanding those materials and getting them ready to paint. And then the ladies or gentlemen, whoever were joining, would come in. They had tables set up in the basement, and they would have painting nights, where these people came in and talked and they painted and created things that they could, give away as gifts or decorate their homes with. So, with that being said, being around a industrial type of situation, a work type situation, though, even though I didn't know it, that was getting ingrained in my pedigree, so to speak. And so then, fast forward a few years, graduate high school, wind up coming to EKU myself to get a degree. Initially started out with a manufacturing track, was going to go work in industry. And really, because of my parents being teachers, my grandmother being teachers, I was kind of pushing myself away from that and trying to go a different path to set my own. But, at the same time, I just always felt disconnected, if you will, from the path that I was on. And after some first semester in college and a couple of failures, not really super failures, but some failure that occurred, I realized that, hey, I may be pursuing something that I really don't want to do, and I need to pursue something that I want to do. And that was work with people. And I was kind of pushing that away. So made a degree change and began pursuing a degree in industrial technology with an emphasis in technology education, which is the 1990s version of the industrial arts degree, and probably some of the industrial arts courses that you may be aware of, or that others may be aware of, that may have taken in the 1970s or 1980s. So that's how I got on that path to making the switch into the teaching side of things. And then You mentioned the coaching. Well, I always played sports, various sports, but hung my hat up, so to speak, early in high school and didn't get to continue with that. But in college there, I was taking a course, and one of the gentlemen in the course was a non-traditional student, if you would. He's coming back from another career and trying to get his degree in technology education so that he could teach. And he comes into class one day, and he was from up north, I think New York State, and so he kind of talked weird. He didn't talk like us. And
yeah, we don't talk funny at all.
No, we don't. It's so he comes in, and in that funny voice, he asks if anybody knows anything about basketball, and he doesn't know anything about basketball, but his son's team needed a coach, and he's volunteered to coach it, and he doesn't know what he's doing. And so I told him that I'd be happy to help him. So that's how I got my start in basketball coaching.
Oh, that's cool.
In college at EKU, and they had a program in Richmond. It was at that time called the Richmond Youth Sports Program.
Oh,
and so we had a little team there. They were called the Pistons. And we did okay. We probably weren't the best team, but we weren't the worst either. And I learned a lot by working with the youth, and actually by dealing with parents. Believe it or not, that was an experience, and they kind of helped me through what was occurring for what was to come later. And I didn't know it.
Dealing with people.
Yeah, God was molding me for what was to come another day, man.
Absolutely.
That's the one thing that I haven't realized until later in life, was that clay was being molded early on. From the time that hanging out with my grandparents to being in that workshop with my parents, from the experiences that I encountered at EKU to even teaching experiences and principalship. So that's more or less how, in a nutshell, I've come toward the education pathway.
Okay. Now, did I read that your school is, I know it's kind of I'd call it a hybrid, but it's a high school age school?
Yes, sir. It's unique, and we're actually grade 8 through 12 right now. And what we do is go out and recruit students from traditional schools like, a high school, or in our case with the middle school, and try to get students, encourage them to come to our technical center so that they can take classwork in, the doing of life, where they get to have the opportunity to apply the knowledge that they're learning in their academic courses, if you will, to answer that question. Why do I need to know this? Where am I going to use this at? And a lot of times educators have a hard time linking what it is they're teaching to why the student needs to know it.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you something specific now about, you told me off mic that you guys use substitute teachers just like everybody else. What advice as a principal would you have for a substitute teacher coming in there for the first time?
Well, one, beyond the what would seem to stand out to me, like for lack of better terms, the obvious. But
yes,
coming in and being prepared for the day right off the bat, having a game plan in your mind right off the bat, bringing activities with you in case the plans that have been created, aren't working, or is not working out, because there's things that can happen, especially in a digital era that we're in now, where, the teacher might leave a lesson plan and it may require using technology, and the technology doesn't work. So, if you can get an idea of what the lesson is that you're going to be teaching in advance, and you can pull together some things that might supplement the lesson being taught, I would advise to bring some of those things with you to the school. you're trying to gain favor really quick with kids, and kids are a tough audience. And a lot of times participation is lacking of students when subs are there. They get more or less consider that to be a free day. And I don't think there's anything wrong with bringing a bag of candy with you, to reward students for participating.
Exactly. Me too.
In
Me too.
instruction. So
that's good.
That's a great start.
That's a really good answer. I mean, I could have handed you a script to read and it would have sounded just like that, because I think you hit on a lot of things. We've talked on the podcast about always being prepared and having things in your back pocket and, having a little candy. It's amazing how much the students will participate just if they know they're going to get a starburst by the end of the class. It's really amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Kids want to have the, you're new, and you have kids that want to impress you too. They want to leave a good impression. And, of course, you got the kids that want to be left alone also. But
yes, let me ask you this: as an administrator, if a substitute teacher has an idea or a concern, how do they diplomatically say something about it without making teachers mad or administrators mad? How do you say they should go about that?
Well, I've encountered this as a principal where
good. I'm glad you got experience with it.
Yeah, good. Somebody wants to make a point. You never want to come across as unloading, and what I mean by that is a lot of times when people become frustrated for whatever reason, and in this case, a lot of times I think substitute teachers can become frustrated in what they're doing at a school or frustrated with students.
Yeah.
And they want to unload on, the principal, let's say, or another teacher. And, when you visit a school for the first time or a second time or whatever, you have the choice to choose whether or not you're going to go to a school or not. So you're going to formulate an opinion of that school right away. And I think in a first visit that always following up with the teacher with a note or an email to let them know how the day has gone is very beneficial and doesn't come across as unloading. And I would suggest at that point in time, not really trying to make suggestions or anything, but just trying to give the information of the day. The teacher's perspective is they just need the day to go as smooth as possible.
Right.
And so that to me that should be a substitute teacher's goal when they come in. Now, in terms of offering suggestions for the school, I've encountered that before where I've been unloaded on and I don't receive it very well. Yeah. And I don't mind to hear a concern, but I want to hear it appropriately in an appropriate place. And I want you to put some thought into how you intend to deliver that message to me. And I'd be happy to receive it. And typically have an open door toward people. The more I get to know a sub, the more comfortable I am in receiving feedback from them versus
that makes sense.
A one time you've dropped in my school and now you're going to tell me everything that's wrong with it and what we need to do.
Right. That's a good answer. I've enjoyed talking. We're almost out of time. Tell me any thought you might have in closing that you'd like to share with us before we get out of here.
Well, mainly is that, I don't know what you've discussed. I haven't listened to all the podcasts. I've listened into a few things, but that which teachers are prepared also.
Absolutely.
And one of the things as a sub that you can do, because you're a practitioner, is provide feedback to an administrator on things that may help you to do better as a sub. And you could give examples, preferably from their building, of things that you've enjoyed or liked, if you've been with a particular teacher, from the way they do the lesson plans, the communication up front, the, how easy if they try to make it for you, because there is a model out there that you can follow that would be beneficial, especially for new teachers coming in that haven't really encountered it before. And then also for maybe some teachers that might need a little help in, prepping for a sub, because it's a big task to prep for
right.
somebody to come in and do your job on a time that you're not there. And most professionals don't have to do that. They don't have, if they need a day off, they just miss and the work stops until they can come back. So in education, it doesn't do that. So that being said, I think it's an ideal situation. I provide a checklist for my staff to create when we have emergency subfolders, and then also expectations of when there is a sub that provide a skeleton detail, minimal, of what those plans should have.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Daryn, it's been great talking to you today. I will go ahead and tell the listeners that we are in the same fraternity. That's how we met each other for the first time. We're both Lambda Chi Alpha members, so we have that in common. I'm a lot older, as you can probably tell. But other than that, it's been great talking to you and Sarah today, and I wish you the best, and hopefully we'll get things back to normal in the next few months.
Greg, that's awesome. And fraternity brothers, and that's a powerful thing, regardless of the age that separates us. We are brothers,
Yes.
and we hold a bond that's very special. And it's kind of what's connected us to be able to do this podcast. So
I agree.
I hope that I have an opportunity to come back on again at another time. I would really
Absolutely
enjoy the opportunity to sit down and discuss. So if you guys have any other ideas, things that you'd like to talk about or have an administrator's perspective on, I'd love to participate in that. And thank you for having me.
Sounds great. Y'all have a good day.
All right.
Talk to you later. All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, I love that. That was Principal Daryn and his daughter Sarah. It's kind of insightful to hear perspectives from a principal, because they see things just slightly different. They want the best of their school, but they give us advice that's probably slightly different than we might get from teachers or other substitute teachers or from students or anything else we've shared on here. So I'm thankful Daryn was able to be with us. I hope to get more principals on here. So we've actually had a lot of interviews here lately because everybody's sitting at home and they have time to do that. So I'm thankful for that as well. As we enter into the summer months or the summer break months, I know we've been broken for a while, but the traditional summer break months, I think I will go into a little bit of describing students that I have had, not by name, of course, and maybe sometimes even combine two students into one story, but we'll have like a summer true student story series. And I haven't decided yet. I might even do that kind of it'll be biographical, but it'll kind of be in novel form. I can't decide if I want to do it a third person or how exactly I want to do it, but I want to do it in an entertaining way and how things progress with students and what I found out that maybe I didn't know in the beginning. So I hope to share that with you during the summer. In the meantime, you guys have the best of weeks. I'm in Kentucky. We're starting to open things up a little bit. I know restaurants are scheduled to open on May 22nd. They are not allowed to have any more than 33% capacity, or they can have outside dining as long as everybody is further away than 6 feet. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Most all businesses are opening up in the month of May in obviously a completely different way than they were before. So I'm glad that the businesses that have been struggling are going to get back into it. I think even the parks are going to open soon, at least within a month. So that will make a lot of people happy, but social distancing is going to be a way of life now. So, and from my perspective, sports, I saw something as well that we might have youth sports firing back up, maybe mid-June, but I foresee that changing too. I know I've been watching a little Korean live baseball because they've fired their league up and ESPN is carrying it. but it's really kind of interesting. No fans. The umpires have to wear masks and gloves, and of course the players stay appropriate distance too. So, and even down there they have cheerleaders. So, and the cheerleaders have been on the dugout with masks on. So it's really kind of bizarre to watch, but yet you get a lot of insights. I've watched it mainly not so much for the play of just the information they share and how maybe Major League Baseball would do something similar. But that's it for this week. We'll see you next week on Substitute Teachers Lounge. Music provided by Finn Sound.